Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something really amazing? We're talking about an AI that can solve Olympiad-level math problems code better than most humans and even learn how to learn better.
Wow.
It's called DeepSeek R1, and you've sent us a ton of articles and research about it.
Right.
Let's unpack this together. So
Yeah.
first off, what is DeepSeek R1?
Well, it was developed by a company in China, DeepSeek, and it's a large language model.
Okay.
We're talking massive 671 billion parameters.
Wow.
But here's the thing. It's not J-show big. It's smart.
671 billion parameters. That's like...
It is a lot. But they use this really clever mixture of experts' design. Think of it like a brain with specialized regions.
Okay.
Only the necessary expert clusters are activated for a task.
Interesting.
Makes it much more efficient than other models its size.
So it's not like it's using all 671 billion parameters all the time.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So what makes it so unique in the AI world? What makes it stand out?
DeepSeek R1 really excels at reasoning. It doesn't just understand language. It thinks through problems logically, almost like we do.
Like a human would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen those stats. It's crushing the American Invitational Mathematics Examination.
Right.
Or AE,
Yeah.
for those of you who know. DeepSeek R1 is scoring almost 80% on that. That's a really tough high school math competition.
Yeah, it is. And in coding, DeepSeek R1 achieved a 2029 ELO rating on Code Forces.
So for our listeners who may not be familiar with that, how does that actually stack up against human programmers?
Well, that rating puts it above 96.3% of human programmers.
Wow.
So?
Pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
And on top of all of that, DeepSeek R1 is open source.
Yes.
Available under the MIT license.
Yeah.
So anyone can use it, modify it, even commercialize it.
It's amazing.
And it costs up to 50% less to run than some of the bigger name models out there.
Huge.
Like the closed source models.
Yeah.
So this open source aspect seems like kind of a game changer.
Yeah, I think it is. The potential for disruption in the AI field is massive.
So let's unpack this a little bit. How does this mixture of experts, or MoE framework, actually work?
Okay, so instead of activating all those billions of parameters at once, DeepSeek R1 dynamically routes the input to the most relevant expert clusters.
So for a math problem, it would call upon the math experts. And for coding, it would call upon the coding experts.
Exactly.
Like assembling a team on the fly.
Exactly. It's like putting together a specialized team for each task.
Makes sense. And from what I've read, DeepSeek's training process is pretty unique too.
It is. It's a combination of supervised fine-tuning and reinforcement learning.
Okay, so break those down for us. What are those examples?
Sure. So supervised fine-tuning, or SFT, trains the model on a data set of examples where the AI is shown how to think step by step.
Okay.
But then the real breakthrough, I think, is in the reinforcement learning stage, or RL.
That's where the AI starts to think for itself.
Yeah, you could put it that way. RL lets the AI kind of experiment and figure out its own strategies and learn from its mistakes and successes.
Interesting.
It even starts to double-check its work and correct its own errors.
So it can self-verify, basically.
Yeah.
Now, I read about this one example where DeepSeek R1 had this aha moment during its training.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so they were training a precursor to R1 called DeepSeek R10 on a tough math problem. And initially, it started down one path, but then it kind of realized it wasn't the most efficient way to go.
Oh, wow.
And it actually paused, reassessed the problem, and allocated more thinking time to explore different solutions.
So it like changed its strategy mid-problem.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. So this reinforcement learning seems like a huge leap forward in AI, especially when paired with DeepSeek R1 being open source.
Yeah.
What are the wider implications of that, do you think?
Well, the implications are huge. I mean, think about it. Anyone can look at the code, tinker with it, even use it commercially.
Yeah.
This kind of accessibility could really spark a wave of innovation as developers kind of build upon each other's work.
Right, and there's also the cost factor to consider.
Yeah. We
read in the articles that using the DeepSeek API could be as little as 15% the cost of some of the competitors out there.
Right.
Like OpenAI's O1 model.
Mm-hmm.
So this level of AI power is becoming much more accessible to a much wider audience.
Yeah.
Startups, researchers, smaller companies, people who couldn't afford to use those models before.
Right.
And one platform that we saw was Fireworks AI. It looks like they're hosting both the full R1 and some smaller versions of it.
Right. They have a few different versions, including some distilled models, which range from like 1.5 billion to 70 billion parameters.
Okay.
Makes them a lot more manageable to run.
So it seems like DeepSeek is really shaking things up, challenging those big players in the AI world.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're on the cusp of a pretty major shift in the AI landscape.
Now, how does DeepSeek R1 actually measure up against some of those giants out there, like OpenAI's O1 and even GPT-4?
Well, we touched on its performance on AMath 500 and code forces,
Right.
where it's either matching or exceeding models like O1 1217 and G+4 O0513, particularly in tasks that require a lot of reasoning.
Mm,
But it's important to acknowledge its limitations.
okay.
It's not as strong in areas like function calling multi-turn dialogue or handling languages other than English and Chinese.
This is not like a universal solution just yet.
Right, not quite. But those distilled versions are really important
Right.
because they can run efficiently on less powerful hardware.
Okay.
So even if you don't have access to a supercomputer, you can still use DeepSeek R1.
So that makes it a lot more accessible to people.
Right.
Now, one of the articles called DeepSeek R1, a Sputnik moment for AI.
I saw that.
I think it was Mark Andreessen who coined that term.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that analogy?
I think it's pretty apt. Just like Sputnik's launch in 1957 sparked a space race,
Yeah.
I think DeepSeek R1's achievements could trigger a similar competition in the AI world.
Is it really that significant?
I think so.
Even with those U.S. restrictions on chip exports to China.
Yeah,
The fact that they did this despite those limitations is pretty remarkable.
it really is.
So where do we go from here? What are the wider implications of DeepSeek R1's emergence, do you think?
I think we could see an acceleration of innovation. DeepSeek R1 being open source encourages collaboration, and that could lead to even more powerful and affordable AI models.
It almost feels like we're witnessing the democratization of AI.
Yeah, I think so. But what about the global implications?
Right.
We have a Chinese company developing AI that's challenging the dominance of U.S. companies
Right.
in a field that's considered really important strategically.
Yeah. DeepSeek R1's success has been called China's Sputnik moment in AI.
Right.
It's definitely a sign of their ambition and capabilities.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the future of the global AI race? Can the U.S. hold on to its lead?
That's a really interesting question. It raises a lot of questions about how the global AI landscape will evolve and whether the U.S. can maintain its current position.
Especially with those restrictions on chip exports to China.
Right. It seems like they're trying to slow down China's progress in AI.
It's kind of like a tug of war.
Yeah, it is. Those restrictions are part of a larger technological rivalry between the two countries.
Yeah.
And DeepSeek R1's success, I think, shows just how challenging it is to try to contain technological development.
Now, where does Europe fit into all of this?
That's a great question. Europe's role in the AI race so far has been pretty minor, but DeepSeek R1's emergence could be a wake-up call,
Right.
a reminder that technological leadership isn't a given.
Yeah.
Europe really needs to step up its game if it wants to stay competitive in the global AI arena.
It's clear that this isn't just a story about the tech industry. This has implications for economics, politics, even culture.
Right, AI is such a transformative force. It's
Yeah.
going to have impacts in every part of society.
And it's happening now.
It is. It's happening now. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I want to ask you one final question.
Good.
DeepSeek R1 seems poised to revolutionize AI, both in terms of technology and accessibility, but what does it all mean for our listener?
Right.
How will they, as an individual, be impacted by this?
That's a really great question. Something for all of us to think about. We've discussed the technical side of DeepSeek R1,
Right.
but its emergence brings up a crucial question for each of us. How will you leverage this newfound access to powerful, affordable, and transparent AI?
Yeah, what will you do?
It's definitely something we're thinking about. What are your biggest takeaways from this conversation so far? What questions are on your mind? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into DeepSeek R1 and explore its potential impact on various industries and all of our lives.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. It's almost like having this massive toolbox filled with specialized tools.
Right.
And you just pick the right one for the job.
I like that analogy.
And as the AI learns, it gets even better at selecting and using those tools.
Makes sense. Speaking of tools,
Right.
let's talk a little bit about the potential impact DeepSeek R1 could have on the tech industry itself.
Okay.
I mean, we've seen those headlines. NVIDIA's stock taking a hit. Investors are getting nervous about what this means for AI hardware.
Right.
What's your perspective on that?
Well, I think some concern is definitely understandable. If AI models become more efficient and they can be trained and run on less powerful hardware,
Yeah.
it could definitely impact the demand for those high-end chips and, those huge data centers.
So companies that really bet big on the AI gold rush might be feeling a little uncertain right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a change in the landscape. But I think it's important to remember that these kinds of technological leaps often lead to new opportunities.
Yeah.
The demand might shift from specialized hardware to more general purpose solutions or...
We might even see completely new markets emerge as AI becomes more accessible.
It's like that saying, when one door closes, another one opens.
Right, exactly.
Now, one of the articles we read mentioned DeepSeek's founder, Liang Wenfeng.
Yeah.
And his background is actually in finance.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not in tech.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's really interesting. It kind of highlights how AI is not just limited to academia or those big tech companies anymore. We're seeing people from all sorts of fields coming into AI and bringing new ideas and perspectives.
It's like AI is becoming this melting pot of different backgrounds and expertise.
Yeah, and that diversity, I think, is really crucial for pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
But we also have to talk about the geopolitical implications here.
Right.
We have a Chinese company developing this model that's challenging the U.S. in a field that's considered very strategically important.
Yeah.
DeepSeek R1's success has even been called China's Sputnik moment in AI.
I saw that.
So what does this mean for the future of the global AI race?
And can the U.S. hold on to its lead?
It's hard to say. This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
It raises a lot of questions about how the global AI landscape will evolve and whether the U.S. can maintain its current position,
especially with those restrictions on chip exports,
right,
which seem to be aimed at slowing down China's progress.
Yeah, those restrictions are part of a much larger technological rivalry between the U.S. and China.
Yeah, it does feel a bit like a tug of war.
It is. And DeepSeek R1's success kind of underscores how difficult it is to try to control or contain technological innovation.
So where does Europe fit into all of this?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Europe's role in the AI race has been fairly limited so far.
Yeah.
But I think DeepSeek R1 could be like a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
A reminder that technological leadership is not guaranteed.
Right.
Europe needs to step up its game if it wants to remain competitive on the global stage.
It's clear that this isn't just an industry story.
No.
This has implications for economics, politics, even culture.
Oh, absolutely. AI is so transformative.
Yeah.
Its impact will be felt in every part of society.
We could see a world where AI helps us tackle some of the biggest challenges we face.
Right.
Like climate change or even finding cures for diseases.
Exactly. It could be like our partner in progress.
AI could be the key to solving some of humanity's biggest problems.
Potentially, yes. But it's crucial that we approach it with a focus on ethics and human well-being.
Right.
We have to address those concerns about potential bias and ensure fairness and protect privacy.
Definitely, AI systems have to be aligned with human values.
Yes.
And benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. It's almost like we need to build a set of ethical guardrails to guide its development and use...
a framework for responsible AI development.
Exactly.
And those guidelines, they really need to be established on a global scale.
Right.
We need input from governments, industry leaders, researchers, and the public.
It's a conversation that needs to involve everyone.
Now, looking ahead, what's next for DeepSeek R1?
Well, the developers have said that they know there's room for improvement, particularly in its language support and its performance in certain tasks.
So they're actively working to make it even better.
Yeah, they're planning updates to address those limitations, and they're encouraging the open source community to contribute to its development.
That's great.
So the evolution of DeepSeek R1 is really just beginning.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Right. It's like this treasure chest of possibilities, but we need to approach it with caution and a sense of responsibility.
Definitely. We're dealing with a technology that could fundamentally reshape our world.
It could.
But with careful consideration and collaboration,
Yeah.
I think we can harness the power of AI for good.
I agree.
Now, the articles also pointed out some really interesting potential benefits of DeepSeek R1, like its ability to potentially accelerate scientific discovery.
Right.
Or even create personalized educational tools.
Yeah, those are really exciting possibilities.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Imagine having AI that can analyze tons of scientific research and find patterns that humans might miss.
Yeah.
Or imagine a world where every student has their own AI tutor that adapts to their learning style.
That would be amazing.
It's like having this super-powered research assistant and a dedicated tutor all in one.
Incredible.
And that's just the beginning. We could see AI-powered tools that revolutionize healthcare,
Mhm.
helping doctors diagnose diseases earlier or develop more effective treatments,
Right.
or AI that helps us optimize energy consumption and fight climate change.
It sounds like AI could really be the key to solving some of those most pressing problems we're facing.
It has the potential.
But it all comes down to how we develop and use it.
Yeah, responsible development is essential.
Right.
We need to be aware of the risks as well as the potential benefits.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening,
Yes.
revealing both the incredible possibilities and the challenges ahead in this new AI era.
It's a new frontier.
DeepSeek R1 is clearly a game changer,
Yeah, it is.
but its ultimate impact really depends on the choices that we make as a society.
I agree completely.
Yeah, it really feels like we're at the edge of something huge.
Yeah,
You know, full of potential, but also some unknowns.
we are. It's a pivotal moment, I think. The future of AI isn't predetermined. It's something that's being shaped right now.
Right.
And DeepSeek R1, I think, has really changed the game. And it's up to all of us to figure out how to navigate this new landscape.
So for our listeners who've been with us on this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway you would want them to walk away with?
I'd say AI isn't some far-off thing anymore. It's here, it's evolving incredibly fast, and it will impact every part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So be curious, stay informed, and be part of the conversation about how we shape the future of AI, because it really is a future we're all creating together.
That is a powerful thought to end on. And to our listeners out there, keep exploring the world of DeepSeek R1 and AI in general. It's an incredible journey of discovery, and as the expert speaker said, we're all on this path together.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into DeepSeek R1. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you later.